Hey, Cowboy fans, I'm Nick Eatman along with Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer. And boy, it sure is nice to get a big win. The Cowboys got one on the road, if you will, even though it sounded like certainly it sounded like AT&T Stadium. But just how satisfying was it to go and beat a really good Chargers team?
Well, it was a big-time win for our football team. Certainly, we gave ourselves an opportunity to win against a Super Bowl defending champion in the Buccaneers, playing against probably the greatest player of all time. Didn't win. We knew we couldn't keep going with moral victories. So to go in there in L.A., which I agree with you, it felt like our home field. Hats off to our fans. Wow, amazing to have that many Cowboy fans yelling and rooting on our football team. It certainly gave our team a lot of energy. But to be able to go in there and, of course, playing the Rookie of the Year, Herbert, who's going to be a great quarterback for them. They present a lot of problems on the defensive side of the ball. They're a really good defense and, of course, some great receivers. So we knew we had our work cut out for us. But we worked through everything. And, at the end of the day, to come out with a big win on the road certainly is a big lift for this football team and should be something that we can really build off of as we move forward. We had some challenges with some injuries, some COVID list guys, a suspension, so we had to work through those things. But hats off. We keep having guys step up 2 games into the season, and I do think that's the nature of our game. We're not the only team having to fight through injuries, having to fight through COVID challenges. So our guys stepped up. Hats off to them. Hats off to the coaches for getting them prepared.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go a little bit on another level there on that second, on those guys that were banged up. You said there was about 5 of them, 5 starters. Not only did those guys fill in, but they played really well. Terrence Steele and, Jaron Curse, and it just goes down the list.
Connor McGovern set the pace the week before, filling in for Zach Martin, and played at a real high level. And then this week, of course, we're coming in without 5 starters. And offensively, I thought Terrence Steele did an amazing job. Good we got Zach back. I think that helped Terrence for sure. Ced Wilson stepping in for Gallup, and then you go to the defensive side. Micah Parsons, are you kidding me? Hadn't played a lot of defensive end since high school, but was able to get consistent pressure on Herbert all day, got a sack out of it, a bunch of pressures. And then, of course, Curse, I think he ended up getting the game ball for us, stepped up with Dono being out. And then, of course, D.A. stepping up for D-Law. It's just our guys are doing their job. And I think both coordinators, Quinn and Kellen, are doing a great job of getting these guys prepared. I know when Mike McCarthy came in here, he told Jerry and I, he said, when we won the Super Bowl championship, we used almost 80 players played in games during that run. And so at the end of the day, you need the depth in your roster. You need all 53. You're going to need players off your practice squad to step up and play. You're going to need players off reserve lists to come in here and get well and then come back and play well for you. So it's a journey. I think our guys are doing a great job answering the bell.
Micah Parsons, you mentioned him. Let's talk about him more. Obviously, when you drafted him, you draft guys like that because they're so dynamic, but also because they can do so many things. Did you ever think that was in his wheelhouse as well?
Well, we thought pressure player was. That was one of the keys to us drafting him is, we really wanted to have a guy who could really pressure the passer. But coming straight off the edge, down in and down out, we didn't necessarily have that in our vision, but he's certainly shown he can do that. I think his versatility is going to be key because this guy can certainly line up at Mike linebacker, take advantage of some mismatches on the inside of an offensive line. As he showed against the Chargers, he can come off the edge. And then, of course, as you saw in preseason and training camp, this guy can be dynamic in coverage too, making plays on the ball, picking the ball, doing what you need there too. So the guy's very versatile. I do think he's going to be a real ace in the hole for Dan Quinn and what we can do on the defensive side of the ball to really not for the opposing team to really have some challenges as to how they want to try to move the ball against us.
Well, I know that Bill Parcells would probably go crazy for hearing this. It's only been 2 games in his career, but I don't think you guys have had a catalytic player that can move around like this since a DeMarcus Ware. It's a guy that can do that many things.
It'd be hard to argue, and this guy may even have more in his repertoire than DeMarcus because DeMarcus was a truly outside player. Certainly Mike has shown early that he can go in and play inside linebacker and, come from the inside and take advantage of a guard or a center that we might think we have a matchup advantage on. So he may be one of the more versatile players we've had, on our defense since we've been here in our first 31 years. So, he's still got to, still can continue to get better, but I do think he'll be dynamic for us this year.
Speaking of dynamic, Tony Pollard was certainly that, but also it was one of Zeke's best games in a while too. There's a lot of talk, which back are you going to play more? I mean, you guys can be greedy and say both, right?
Well, we played them both together, and I think that does give the defense some challenges. One unique thing about Pollard is he can actually, play that slot receiver and really run the route tree, and that certainly gives us an advantage. When both backs are in there, you don't know whether you're going to really use the speed that Pollard has to the outside. Certainly opens things up for Zeke, so it's a great 1-2 punch. I think, and then of course, if they load up on both those guys too much, then I kind of like what we got with Dak and those outside receivers that we have. And of course, the 2 tight ends did a great job in the game as well. One of the things, my hat's off to Kellen, he's really utilizing all of our weapons right now. I mean, you look around the horn on the offensive side of the ball, everybody's getting used and certainly taking advantage of the weapons we have on our offense.
All right, well, first home game of the season coming up here on Monday night, Cowboys and Eagles. What do you love about this rivalry? I mean, it just seems like it doesn't matter what the records are. It's always going to be a pretty intense game.
Well, I agree. You throw them out. I mean, any of these NFC East rivalries are amazing, but for some reason the Eagles, there seems to be a little more zaza in that rivalry, if you will, and really wanting to get the best of one another. But I agree. You throw the records out. I mean, they've got a very gifted quarterback that we're going to have our hands full with because he certainly can beat you throwing the ball, but he's also a guy who moves around really well, and they're playing great defense. So, it's going to take, we got to play our very best, and certainly we look forward to it, but there's not going to be a better atmosphere than AT&T Stadium on a Monday night. I know our fans are ready to get back to a full house.
Yeah.
They supported us better than any probably team in the world last year, averaging about almost 30,000 fans a game. But I know it'll be great to have a full house, which we will have, and certainly that energy is going to energize our football team, and I think we're going to play great football.
I thought one more thing about the crowd. Zach Martin said, you might have heard this after the game, that they never went silent count against the Chargers at all, never had to, but the Chargers had to do it several times because of the Cowboys fans there at the end.
Well, like I said, hats off to our fans. I mean, it's been 25 years since we delivered a Super Bowl to them, and, that one probably, burns hotter in our belly, Jerry's belly, my belly, our family's belly, the organization's belly, that we hadn't been able to pull that off in terms of bringing these great fans. I think the very best in the NFL, and I think we probably have more than anybody too. But we've got to bring these guys a championship because they certainly support us year in and year out.
They're definitely ready. Everybody's ready to see that. And of course, it's going to be a long season, but we like what we saw in that first game or second game. Can't wait to see what happens this Monday night.
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. That's Stephen Jones, Cowboys Chief Operating Officer.